is Chef Renee Johnson, and I got all this good stuff right here in front of me. I have some fresh bell peppers, some celery, some fresh fennel, some leeks. I got some fresh herbs over here. I just have all this good stuff. And I bet, and I have some Beyond sausage. And you know, if I'm adding some vegan sausage to something, it's going to be delicious. So what I'm making is I am making some Southern style gumbo. I'm making that old-fashioned Louisiana gumbo, but without the crab, without the chicken, without the ham, and it's still gonna be delicious. You know, as we were growing up, gumbo brought us all together. It brought everybody to my grandmother's house. It was that big old pot on the stove. And we always had that one uncle who came and tried to get all the crab out of the pot until one of my grandmothers, I'm not gonna say which one, said if his butt come over, he better bring some crab. So we're gonna just, not do that, but do this, and it is going to be amazing. I'm excited to share this recipe with you. It's gonna be something that you guys can do, and it's something that's very easy. And this gumbo is still gonna bring us all together. Okay, so right now I'm gonna prep all my green vegetables right now. So I'm gonna chop my leeks, my fennel, my bell pepper, and my onion. And fennel is something that we don't use. Other thing is, I always try to tell people when I'm cutting to make sure that when you're holding a big knife like this, that you're holding your blade, not your handle. So many people do this, but you want to do this. It gives you much more control. It makes sure you don't use your hand so much. Also, I want to talk about this fennel. Fennel is so good. I use it in so many recipes. I throw it in my jambalaya. I throw it in my red beans and rice. It gives it just a little bit of a chicory taste, almost like an anise. And we use this a lot in sausage. So I'm going to put this in there. So what I'm going to do is cut this, and I'm going to leave this kind of big because I want you guys to be able to taste it. I want my family to be able to taste it when we're eating this. And I'm gonna use like a half a cup of this. There we go. I'm gonna leave that just like this because I want you guys just to get a big old bite of that. Okay, so now I have my onion. I'm cutting that up. And it's the same thing, about a half a cup to a cup onion. I have a medium onion here. Quick tip for you: when you're going to cut onions, if you don't want to be a crybaby, what you do is you cut off the top, you cut off the bottom, you run it under ice cold water for about 1 or 2 minutes, not even that long, but just make sure you get it nice and cold. That will make sure that the gases are released from your onion. You can cut it and you're all set. Ooh, this smells so good already. I want to talk about bell pepper a little bit too. When you see a bell pepper that has 4 bumps on it, that's the one that we use mostly for chopping. When you see 3, that's the one we use mostly for decoration. I'm taking the veins out of here, which are bitter. And there's my bell pepper. And I have some leek here. It's already been washed, but I don't go too high when I cut leeks because leeks are grown inside of dirt, and you can go too high and you run into the dirt unless you're gonna pull each leaf apart, which I'm not gonna do today. And I'm gonna cut these really thin. Oh, you know what? I need my celery. Let me grab my celery, and I'm cutting my leaves in with this as well. All right, now I have all my vegetables prepped. I'm getting ready to throw this in my skillet and saute these up. So next, what I'm doing is I am going to prepare my tofu. So I've already taken most of the moisture out of this tofu, and I'm going to cut it in strips, about 1/4 inch, because what I'm going to do with this tofu is gonna blow your mind. And this is gonna bring more texture to our gumbo, because you gotta remember, gumbo has a lot of different layers. So we're getting our layers together. So I'm gonna take this tofu and I'm putting it in a bowl, breaking it up. I'm gonna drizzle a little olive oil on top of it. I'm mixing it up. And then next I'm gonna throw some spices on here, and I just have some salt and pepper and just a little bit of smoked paprika in this one. And I'm gonna let this sit. Next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our Beyond sausage, and this is the hot Italian one. You can use the other one if you like. And we're gonna cut these up. and about a 1/4 inch slices as well. Okay, I'm gonna fry these up, drop these in a hot skillet, and see you in a minute. So now what I'm doing is I'm placing my vegan sausage in my skillet. It always surprises me so much how much this sausage browns when I cook it. So I'm gonna brown this up, and then I'm gonna remove it from the skillet, and then we're gonna do something super duper amazing. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna make the roux to our gumbo. And roux is some oil and some flour. And I already have my pan hot with my oil, and I'm gonna drop my flour in. You hear that sound? And we're gonna cook this until it changes colors. You really want your gravy to cook down till it's about, and you're gonna stir it constantly so that it doesn't burn. And you want this base right here to cook down to about the color of a dark cup of coffee, or about my color. It's perfect. And I have my stove on medium high, and you're gonna do this probably for about 5 to 7 minutes. You start to see my flour's turning color right now. We're gonna add our gumbo fillet to this recipe. And what the gumbo fillet is gumbo fillet is the sassafras leaf. It is used for so many great things. It is even used to make root beer. So we're gonna add our gumbo fillet. And you don't have a real gumbo if you don't have the fillet in it. So right now, we are letting our roux change colors. Look at that. Look at that, look at that, how brown that's getting. We want it a little browner. And I'm letting it get browner and browner. And I've been doing this now for about 7 minutes. And I want it to get just a little browner. And it's getting browner and browner. Almost there. Now it is perfect. Look at that. It's nice chocolate brown. So next what we're gonna do is we're gonna lower our heat, and we're gonna put that secret ingredient in. We're gonna add our filet right inside of that roux. Cook that down. There you go. Add this right directly into our hot steaming pan. And there we go. So the tricky part to this particular recipe is that we have our water here, which is our stock for our gumbo. And we are going to add, I have a vegan chicken bouillon that I'm gonna throw in here. And I'm gonna let that come to a boil. I'm putting 2 of them in there, and we're gonna let this boil. And this is gonna start to thicken up a little bit, and we're gonna add our next ingredients. We're gonna drop our fresh vegetables. Ooh, I love that sound. I love that sound. We're gonna saute these up. And you know what I did is that I used the oil from our vegan sausage. And then next I'm gonna drop our seasonings, our salt and our pepper, and our granulated onion and garlic. And I'm gonna cook this for about 5 to 7 minutes till it's nice and tender. And then this is gonna go in the pot with our filet and our vegan chicken bouillon. We're about to have us some gumbo, guys. Ooh, if you guys were in my kitchen, it smells so good. It smells so good in here. What I'm going to do now, you know, I'm going to add some fresh herbs into this one to give it another lift. So I have some fresh sage that I'm going to add into here, into our pot of gumbo. I'm removing my leaves. And then also, I have some fresh oregano. Then I'm going to take my oregano and remove the leaves from that. And I'm going to use probably about 5 to 6 stems of oregano. And then I'm going to take my sage and roll it up. Okay, I'm going to take this and I'm going to add it to our boiling pot. So now I have my chickens, my vegan chicken stock, my gumbo filet. I've added some bay leaves into this pot. I'm going to add my fresh herbs. I'm going to add my vegan sausage. I'm going to add my kidney beans. And I'm going to let this cook until it gets thick. We'll boil into our hot steaming pan. Okay, we're going to let that come to a boil and come right back. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take these vegetables and we're going to put them inside of our gumbo stock. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take a little bit of my gumbo and I'm going to take a little bit of this sauce, throw it in here, and see that, and deglaze this pan to make sure I get all the flavors. All that's going to go inside of our gumbo. Now pour that in there. Ooh, now we're going to let this cook and thicken until it's nice. The consistency of this is beautiful already. It's going to thicken up just a little bit, but you know it's not supposed to be like a gravy. Let that come to a boil, and we're going to come back and we're going to start doing some real tasting in a minute. Ooh, I did the thing with this gumbo, and it ain't even done. I'm going to taste it again. God, I'm about to cuss. This mess is amazing. Woo. Wait till you guys taste this. Okay, now it's time for the secret ingredient with this gumbo that we're making, this vegan gumbo. And so what I have here is I have some tofu that I've cut up in cubes. I've drizzled it with some olive oil. I've sprinkled a little paprika in here, a little smoked paprika to be exact, some salt and some pepper, and that's it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to fry up this tofu old style, just like I would fry up some okra or some shrimp, and then I'm going to serve that on top of our gumbo. So let's get to it. I'm stirring this up. So what I'm going to do is fry up this tofu and use it as our substitute for our shrimp in our gumbo. So now what I'm doing is I am frying my tofu till it's nice and golden brown. Now we're going to take them out. Look at how beautiful these came out. There you go. These are so good you can even just have them as a bite. They're so amazing. Got some green onions. What I'm going to do is garnish these the gumbo with some green onions. You always need to top, in my opinion, your food with a little bit of color. So we are on the final step of this fabulous, fabulous gumbo. What I've done is I've taken some of my gumbo and put it inside this bowl, and I'm going to serve it to you guys the way that my grandmother would serve it. So what my grandmother would do is she would put the rice on top, and then what she would do is add her green onions, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do her a secret trick is I'm going to add tofu to this, which is our rendition of my grandmother's recipe. There you go. Now we are ready to rock and roll. I want to thank you guys so much for coming and allowing me to share my version and my vision behind Vegan Gumbo. I want to ask you guys to follow me on YouTube, Chef Renee Johnson, on Facebook, Blackberry Soul Renee, and my Instagram, Blackberry Soul Renee as well. I thank you again for coming. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.